A new day begins. Good morning and welcome to the AM News on ITV Abuja. I am Lukman Adelakin, bringing you the major stories to keep you informed. Let's begin. The Nigerian Senate on Thursday approved and passed the state of emergency declared by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu on Rivers State. President Bola Tinubu had on Tuesday in a broadcast declared a state of emergency in Rivers State, citing rising tension in the state. National Assembly correspondent Charity Tanko has the details of this report.
The proclamation of the state of emergency 2025 declared by Mr. President in Rivers State of Nigeria as amended pursuant to Section 16, pursuant to Section 60 of the Constitution, Section 305, subsection 2, and pursuant to our rules 1, sub B of the standing orders of the Senate, and also pursuant to rules 134, 135, and 136 of the Senate of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. Those in support of the declaration of the state of emergency in Rivers say aye.
Away from the Red Chamber, the House of Representatives has also approved President Bola Tinubu's request for emergency rule in Rivers State. I was present at the Green Chamber and I reported that a mild drama unfolded at the House of Representatives during deliberations on President Tinubu's proclamation of the state of emergency. Let us take a look.
Our deliberations are not going to be deliberations based on illegality. It is noted, Honorable, please, you can see.
The uproar began when Honorable Obi Agwacha demanded transparency, calling for the attendance register to be read aloud to determine that a quorum had been formed. But his request was met with an outcry. Shouts of "sit down" erupt across the chamber, a sign that many lawmakers were eager to push forward without delays. Earlier, journalists had been told that plenary would start at 10 a.m. an hour earlier than usual. But as the minutes ticked by, everyone waited, eyes fixed on the entrance. Finally, at 10:40 a.m., Speaker Tajuddin Abbas arrived.
The Nigerian military has promised adequate protection of critical infrastructure, especially oil installations in Rivers and other South-South states, following Tuesday night's pipeline explosion. John Tenner reports that the Director of Defense Media Operations, Major General Marcus Kange, said this during the bi-weekly press briefing at the Defense Headquarters in Abuja.
The climax of political crisis that has continued to rock Rivers State was Tuesday's pipeline explosions in Rivers communities of Bodo, Gokana local government areas in Rivers State. This bi-weekly press briefing by the Defense Headquarters presents an avenue for journalists to seek clarification on the explosions. The Director of Defense Media Operations, Major General Marcus Kange, said investigations are still on the cause of the explosion, but reaffirmed the military's commitment to protect at all costs critical infrastructure in Rivers and other South-South states.
The field commanders are aware of all that is happening in the field. So whatever that has happened, they will interrogate it and revert to Defense Headquarters with their findings.
It was a sad Wednesday night as some vehicles were raised when a petrol-laden tanker exploded on Cairo Bridge along the Abuja-Nyanya-Kefi Road in the Federal Capital Territory, resulting in a massive fire. Victor Ogani visited the scene of the disaster Thursday morning and filed in this report, which is presented from our studio.
That was the moment the CNG cylinders attached to a truck exploded around 6:45 p.m. Wednesday evening, burning vehicles and roasting people alive. Motorists and commuters returning home from work had to scamper for safety. Expectedly, it caused extreme traffic gridlock as residents spent 3 to 6 hours to get to their homes after the close of work. Burnt cars were seen by the roadside and remains of exploded cylinders were yet to be cleared from the scene. FCT FRSC Sector Commander, eyewitnesses at the scene and others spoke to newsmen at the scene.
About 25 people were injured. But meanwhile, 6 people were unfortunately that we have. Yesterday, there's some minutes after 7, the vehicle you can see the down within was coming with cement from AY and it was stopped.
Barely 24 hours after that CNG-laden truck collapsed near Karo Bridge along the Abuja-Kefi Expressway, another fertilizer-laden truck has collapsed on the same spot. The incident occurred at about 3:54 p.m. on Thursday afternoon. The head of the Public Affairs of the FCT Emergency Management Department, Nkechi Isa, confirmed the accident in a statement. The National Blood Service Agency has called on Nigerians, particularly residents of the Federal Capital Territory, to donate blood to support victims of the ghastly accident that occurred on the Ewa-Karo Expressway, Abuja, on Wednesday. The Federal Road Safety Corps has confirmed that 10 people died and over 25 others were injured in the accident. Meanwhile, the Minister of the Federal Capital Territory, Nyesom Wike, has sympathized with victims of the motor vehicle accident that occurred Wednesday evening in Karo, Abuja. Speaking through his Senior Special Assistant of Public Communications and Social Media, Lere Olayenka, the FCT Minister offered to foot the medical bills of the casualties. The former Vice President of Nigeria, Atiku Abubakar, on Thursday announced that a new coalition has been formed to challenge President Bola Tinubu in the 2027 presidential election. Joseph Kadri reports that Atiku, who dropped the ins at a World Press in Abuja, also condemned the declaration of state of emergency in Rivers State by President Bola Tinubu. The report.
Section 305 of the Constitution allows the President to declare a state of emergency only in the extreme cases where public safety, national security, or Nigeria's sovereignty is at serious risk. We call on patriotic senators and representatives to vote against this illegal action when it comes before them for approval.
Atiku announced a coalition of all opposition parties have been formed to wrestle power from President Tinubu come 2027 as he condemned in totality the state of emergency declared in Rivers State and the subsequent suspension of Governor Sim Fubara.
The federal government says it has taken a move to reach farmers nationwide and address their pressing challenges. Agriculture correspondent Susan Ita reports that this was asserted during the official inauguration of the new back-end office of the National Electronic Extension Platform, NEP, in Abuja.
To the glory of God, to the service of humanity, and in fulfillment of the promise made and the promise kept by President Bola Tinubu.
The federal government is intensifying efforts towards enhancing food security and driving economic growth by operationalizing the Enhanced National Agricultural Growth Scheme. In a statement by the Director of Information and Public Relations, Mohammed Manga, highlighted that the initiative aims to strengthen food security, stabilize commodity prices, and support smallholder farmers across the country. Meanwhile, the Minister of Interior, Dr. Olubunmi Tunji-Ojo, has identified the clearance of over 200,000 passport application backlogs by the Nigerian Immigration Service and the recruitment of 5,000 new personnel in the Nigerian Correctional Service as major achievements of the ministry. ITV's Victoria Lawal reports that the minister gave scorecards of his ministry and paramilitary outfits under the ministry at the ministerial press briefing at Radio House, Gariki, Abuja.
Our border control, maritime border control, our land border control, surveillance solution via the e-border solution is up and running as we speak.
The Nigerian government, through the Ministry of Foreign Affairs, says the era of humiliating Nigerians abroad is over. The Foreign Affairs Minister, Ambassador Yusuf Tuga, stated this Thursday during the ongoing ministerial briefing series in Abuja. Diplomatic correspondent Charity Tanko reports the minister as saying the federal government has measures in place to market Nigerian products abroad through exports.
Among other things, the minister said the federal government has been able to position the country such that no Nigerian will suffer any form of humiliation outside the shores of this country.
At least 84 victims of kidnapping have been rescued from terrorist enclaves in Kankara local government area of Katsina State in a joint military operation conducted by troops of the 17th Brigade in conjunction with Air Component Operations Forest Sanity. Meanwhile, Katsina State Police Command foiled a kidnap attempt on Gidan Zuma village in the Sabwa local government area of the state on Wednesday. The Chief of Defense Staff, General Christopher Musa, has called for continuous prayers and support for the armed forces of Nigeria in the fight against insecurity. General Musa said this at the break of fast with Christian officers and soldiers observing the Lenten season at the defense headquarters in Abuja. John Tiana reports.
After performing the iftar with Muslim military personnel on Thursday, 7th March 2025, the CDS in a similar fashion again joined Christian faithful to break their fast for the Lent.
That's the news on ITV Abuja this morning. I am Lukman Adelakin. Stay informed and stay safe. Bye-bye.